The real estate market has shifted. What's going to change? What's going to stay the same? In episode 45, we dive into that. Let's go.
You're listening to Mega Real Estate Talk with Jared Davis and Galen Parker, your source for an honest, insightful look into Central Virginia's real estate market. Combined, Jared and Galen have over 20 years sales experience, as well as hundreds of testimonials from clients past and present who rely on them for advice and assistance when buying and selling homes in today's incredibly hot and competitive real estate market. And now, your hosts, Jared Davis and Galen Parker.
I am Jared Davis.
And I am still Galen Parker.
How you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. I've gone over to the fall side. I've got pumpkin flavored coffee in my veins.
Ooh, is that what you're drinking now?
This is I'm not a coffee drinker, but this is an iced coffee with, what you say, is a pumpkin swirl in there, oat milk.
Okay.
And that's it.
I'm drinking coffee protein.
It tastes pretty good.
Coffee flavored protein.
Yeah.
It does have caffeine. It's not actually coffee, but it makes me think that I'm drinking coffee.
Okay, good.
Just to wake me up a little bit.
I was like, usually I don't drink coffee, but I think when we're in the studio, I like to get super jacked on drugs, which is caffeine. If you like caffeine, you're a drug addict. I said it.
I get that.
So no, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Great, man. I just picked up a new car. I've been waiting for 8 months.
Mazda?
Yeah, you know it. You know I'm a big Mazda fan. No, it's a 2020
Zoom.
Yeah, it's a GT4 RS, a Porsche.
Nice.
One of 75 in the country right this second.
Very cool.
It's very cool. It is aggressive.
Delivery process.
Well, for here, I mean,
No. I'm saying, like, what is it? An experience? Do they do anything? Like, I remember when I worked for BMW. Certain cars there was.
Yeah,
You know.
Porsche does a Track Your Dreams app and website. And
Nice.
it lets you track it through the process, and they'll send you like some production pictures when it's on the conveyor and stuff. Getting built and painted.
That's pretty
And
cool.
then it shows you what's going on, like when it's on the boat and all. It gives you like every step that it's in.
Luckily, it wasn't that one boat that lost.
Sank. Yeah, it was good. I was like, please just don't sink on me, because everything's gotten delayed. Like,
Could you imagine?
they were building the wiring harnesses in the Ukraine. It's like I can't be mad, right? I can't
The
be
Ukrainians like, we're a little bit busy,
Yeah.
but we're working on it.
Right,
As they're building it, they're like,
yeah, you'd be like, dang it, Ukraine! Don't you
What?
see? I'm trying to get a car here. Yeah,
what
I
if
mean,
they
it's
sent
like-
you the wrong wiring harness? They're like, Mr. Davis, we sent you the wiring harness for a tank.
I was literally just going to say tank.
If you hit one of the buttons, the whole thing self-destructs.
I mean, it's just been crazy. Headlights got delayed. The Bose, like anything Bose has gotten delayed. I mean, it's just crazy.
How much of this do you think is supply chain is just like people making excuses?
I think a lot of what we see locally is excuses.
They're like,
Well-
oh, sorry, I couldn't put any pepperonis on your pizza. Supply chain issues. I'm like, there's a bag of them right there. They're like, yeah, sorry.
Well, with Tesla and the whole chip thing, they were like, oh, we'll just take the old ones and recode them and make them our own. So that's why they didn't slow down early. So I was like, that's smart.
Everything is.
As in the demand for Tesla is just so slow because, there's not that many dorks around here.
Yeah, I mean, who wants a Tesla?
This is
Am I
They're
right?
like, give me this Rivian.
Oh my gosh.
We're kidding. If you're a Tesla driver, thank
Like
you for
Mike
saving
is.
the world or whatever as you drink.
I
out
like
of your
my
plastic
cars
straw.
loud and getting 12 miles to the gallon. So that's
Jared was like revving the engine at like 9:45 in a residential neighborhood this morning. It's like,
so good.
little kids are like, no, so that's awesome.
I love it.
Very
They hear
cool.
me coming. The kids get out the way. Unlike the Tesla, this is a death machine.
There's
Just
countless
silent.
squirrels that just don't make it.
Yeah, think about all the
I
cats.
never thought about that.
You've never thought about the cats that are like sleeping in the wheel wells in the winter time, and then it just drives away. And yeah, I've thought about that so many times. Like there should be some
That'll
kind of
never
cat
happen.
warning.
It'll
Well, my
never happen.
self-driving, though, I lost it, though, in less than 2 weeks. So I'm downgraded to just basic self-driving.
Isn't that crazy that the computer banned
So
him from
forever.
self-driving?
Not forever, until the next update.
until it gets better to
I would
compensate
get
for
so
his terrible
angry.
non-driving.
If someone's like put a restrictor
well,
on me,
they-
I'm like, I paid for this car. They're like, sorry, you can't.
Isn't
use
it?
all
Hold
of
on,
the-
Mike. Isn't it crazy to think that the computer can tell Mike that he's bad at not driving?
Okay, the texting.
He's
the texting,
so bad at not driving that
They're like,
they
you
will.
should drive.
the texting clients back and forth or emails is. Just,
I don't like the fact that there's like apparently a camera watching me in my car
it's
telling me what to
eyesight.
do.
Yeah, camera.
I'm
yeah.
done.
I don't like
Nah.
that.
Nope. I'm gonna stick with
It's
my
like if you're like
Porsches.
playing music too loud in your car and like it turns your like the speakers on like, sorry, you can no longer exceed 14. I'm like, what?
It was pretty crazy though, driving from point A to point B. It was kind of like a
Sleeping.
16-year-old driver. Like you're like,
Jerky. Like, oh God, please no.
I would not take this turn. Okay, you did it. All right, fine. That was good. All right. Just keep on going.
That's awesome.
All right, Galen, let's
Yo.
deep dive. Let's just get into it because
Then we have to do a pause for a deep dive music.
we're gonna. Gosh, give me a second.
You're like, let's just get into it. I'm like,
No,
all
I'm
right.
saying like let's deep dive because I feel like
Get into it.
I don't want to ramble forever on all of these things. I want to give the people what they want, which is our topic, right? So, Mike, deep dive us. Let's go.
Oh man, that was the worst music I've ever heard in my life.
Every time.
Unpleasable.
Every time. All right. So this topic, the real estate shift. We had done a podcast, probably in the last couple podcasts. If you looked at any of our, listen to our last couple, it was the real estate market isn't shifting; it's shifted. So now that we're in this shift, this podcast, we're going to focus on what's going to change and what's going to stay the same. So Galen, let's get us started with.
We're using mutual notes.
Okay.
I like it.
What's going to change? What's one of the first things that we're going to see change as this market shifts? What are we seeing right now?
One of the things that I've seen, and we're going to go out of order, obviously, but I can just talk to my own experience this past maybe week. We've got a viewer who watched our video on YouTube. Thank you for doing that. They set up some showings. We showed them stuff. Showing them probably 8 or 9 houses, probably 6 of the list agents have reached out to me and was like, hey, what do you think about the house? What was your client's impressions? What do you think about the price, the area? And prior to that, the last 2-3 years, even before, 21, 22 craziness, list agents were really not doing that. I mean, you kind of had to approach the altar to even get a conversation with the list agent.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And now they're reaching out to you like, so, hey, what's your favorite color? And it's like, man, this is crazy. Like they're sensing the change and they're adjusting to it. So that's a big change.
Do you think the communication of the list agents is going out the roof right now because they're trying to figure out what's going on with any showing that comes through? Because their buyers are asking them, hey,
absolutely,
what's happening? And before you'd have like 9 offers out of 20
leave me alone,
showings,
buyer.
and you're like, I don't need your stupid feedback, right? You're like, I got
Exactly.
10 offers. Oh, your client didn't like it. Here, let me cry my tears with all of these offers, right? So
And it's funny. It's like they're not even waiting for like the automatic offer, like the automatic response or feedback. They're like immediately calling, like an hour after.
How did it
like,
go?
So, hey,
what's going on?
What's going on? Anything we can do? When was the last time you had a massage? What's your favorite food? And it's just like, hey, take it easy.
And it's nothing against the list agents. I mean, it is for some because some were just bad through the process. But you got to think, if you had like 5 listings up and every single one had 20 to 30 showings on it within a weekend, that's 150, 200 showings going on every single weekend for you. You're probably not touching base with the agents, right? Because you're getting your offers,
not responding, you're not answering any questions.
You're just like, well, guys, come on, man. What do you expect? You were getting calls from agents that were like, what do they want an offer? And you're like, the highest price possible with the lowest contingencies possible.
It's also kind of like a mental headspace. Yesterday, I was at the office and I had posted my listing onto Facebook. And when you do that, if you're a list agent, you know what's about to happen. You get like all these crazy responses and
Was
questions.
this the one in another state?
No, this one's here. I was getting like all these like responses from people, and I was like, normally I would just ignore it because I'm like, we're gonna get. But now I'm like, man, I gotta respond to all these things.
Yeah.
And the responses were like the worst. Like for instance, there was like open house Sunday 1 to 3.
Yep.
You know what the first question I got?
Are there any open houses?
Are there any open houses? And if so, what time? And like normally I would just like delete it. Then I just had to be like, hey, thank you so much for taking a look at our house. Yes, as posted above, the open house. So it's like you as a list agent, I implore you, you're going to have to kind of shift your own mindset and think like, all right, now I've got to go back into service mode, not only to your own seller, but to prospective buyers, just to help kind of keep that thing moving. So that's a huge change,
I'll clump something in with that before we move to the next one. And that is the fact that just in general, what's going to change is the amount of effort and marketing and stepping your game up that listing agents will have to do, because a year or two ago, you could have gone with almost any list agent that would have thrown it in MLS and probably gotten a contract, maybe not as good as if you had gone with someone like us, but you'd have sold your house. Now, the list agents, you're going to have to change and step up your game and do all the things that you were promising you were going to do on the marketing side, right? Whereas before, maybe you got it into MLS and you had contracts before you could ever even get your rounds of marketing at. Now you really are going to have to make sure you're marketing, you're pushing these listings out, you're sending them on newsletters, you're doing open houses, everything that you can be doing, because listing it and posting and praying, as I like to say, that is not going to work in this market.
And I will kind of like, give ourselves a round of applause, a little pat on each other's back. Good job, buddy. Thank you, sir. During all of this, we never let our agents get lazy when it came to like open houses, photography. And I definitely remember like an agent on our team saying like, "Hey man, well, I can't afford to, to take pictures. I'm just going to use my phone." And I was like, "Absolutely not.
You're fired.
You will not do that." I was like, "You're not embarrassing yourself and us by doing that." One of the things that even our photographer, he asked me about a listing we had like that's like in a million years away drive, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to do like video?" And I'm like, I think we got to do everything. Let's do drone. We're going to do video. We're going to do pictures, because like gone are the days where you just throw anything. I was like, we got to go all out for all of these. And so, that's something that you have to be prepared for. And whenever he bills me, I'm sure it'll be like $1 million.
Yeah. The next thing I think is going to change, or it is changing right now, is buyers are now going to finally have more leeway in their offers. So as nervous as some buyers are getting in the state of things with interest rates, with costs, with all of these whatever, right, all of these uneasy times, the good thing is that if you had have bought 6 months ago, there's a good chance you would have been paying $20, $30, $40, $50, $100,000 over the ask price on a house, right?
Yep.
You weren't getting to inspect that house. There's a lot of people that are like, dang, I got to fix all this stuff once I get in, or I'm going to find all this stuff when I get in. You weren't getting appraisals, so you were having to pay over appraised value in some instances. I was watching people pay $50,000 to $100,000 over the appraised value in some instances on houses. So now, while things have gotten more expensive from a mortgage standpoint, while prices are maybe steadily either leveling off or maybe even declining a little bit right this second, as a buyer, the perk is that now you're not competing with 15 other offers. You're able to get some closing costs. You're able to get inspections. You're able to get appraisals. You can get your price down in some instances. We're selling stuff under ask. We're taking offers under ask. We're offering under ask, right? So there's a big perk. And so for a buyer, you're going to have more leeway than you've ever had in the last 3 years, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's definitely there's a balance, right? Because there's definitely buyers right now like, see, I'm buying my house and I'm not paying over list price, right?
Yep.
And it's like, true. But the people who did pay over list price are also paying like 2%, of their interest rate, and now you're paying like 7%. So it's like there's a balance. So it's not like things have completely. That's what we keep telling people, like, be cautious. It's not a flip to a buyer's market in any stretch of the imagination. It's just there's a little bit return to normality is the message that I've been kind of bringing out. So it means that as a buyer's agent, you can craft your offer a little bit different. You can play with the numbers a little bit. You can get them little closing costs, something like that. Maybe, here's the crazy thing, maybe the seller pays for like the warranty.
Oh, man.
Remember that? It was
man. Haven't seen home warranty in a while.
Yeah, it's like I think everyone who bought a house from me in the past, like they all got home warranties, but they all had to pay for it themselves, except for like a couple people where it was like gifts.
Yeah.
But for the most part, and like home warranties, just do your research. Like I don't believe in that whole thing. Home warranties are a scam. And I'm like, yeah, there is a scam until you need them.
Yeah. I keep a home warranty on my house. Whole nother subject,
right?
I keep it on my house. It's fixed my HVAC 3 times. It's fixed a dryer for me. It's fixed a refrigerator for me. It's fixed a washing or a dishwasher for me.
That's spot on. That's a great. I mean, it is a different subject, but here is a successful realtor agent who's in the business, and on his own property, he gets a home inspection. So what should that tell you? If you're a buyer and you've like Googled, you're like, home inspections are a scam. I'm like, they're not a scam.
Warranties.
That's right. Home warranties are not a scam because it's like 600 and let's say $50 or something, right? I was like, now you got, your HVAC dies and they're like, well, that's going to be $7,200.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're like, I told someone the other day, I said, listen, if after the first year you don't need it, I'll take you to dinner.
Or let it, yeah. Well, and the thing is, it doesn't matter because now the sellers are paying for them. So you're like, if you don't need it, who cares? And if you do need it,
it's fake money.
It's all good.
What's our next thing?
All right. Mortgage costs are definitely something that has changed heavily.
Yeah.
I ran the numbers figuratively on the house I'm building right this second at 7.5, and it came back at right at almost $36,000 extra a year in mortgage interest between 4.6 where I'm at and 7.5 where I would have been at had I not locked in a build to perm back when we started building.
So that's
which literally almost gave me anxiety because I thought to myself, I pulled this build to perm loan at the very last second as my builder was pulling the financing on this build. I called him and I said, hey, don't do it. I think rates are going to go up. I'm going to see about pulling a build to perm right now, and I'll just pay the mortgage until then. It's terrifying for me to think about because I'm building my dream house right now. I have cars literally just stacked in my driveway because I don't have space to put them. And if I had waited, I don't think I could have bought the house. I'd have lost my whole deposit. I think I just had to tell this guy, dude, I can't pay $36,000 extra dollars a year in mortgage.
so $36,000 a year for 30 years. You want to guess what number we come out at?
I mean, it's $1 million plus,
Oh my God, it's $1 million,
and that doesn't count the
80,000. That doesn't include just like your. Oh my goodness, what a nightmare!
extra,
Oh.
extra, not $36,000 in mortgage a year, $36,000 extra in mortgage a year.
That is wild.
Isn't that crazy? So now put that into perspective for everybody, right? No matter what income bracket you're in, right? I mean, obviously I'm not building a cheap house, but the flip side to that is that anybody that's in my position still has to think, if it's going to cost me now $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 more to buy the house that I was going to buy last year, this year, am I still going to buy, right? Or what am I going to do? There's things like 2-1 buy downs now with mortgages. It's worth looking into. We'll probably do a podcast on one of those at some point as well. But think about the average buyer that's buying, let's say, I don't know your market, but in our market, let's say a $400,000 house.
Sorry, I got really excited. I just read something.
Cool. $400,000 house,
Got it.
right? You're probably adding $1,000 plus a month onto a mortgage over what you would have gotten a year ago. Mm-hmm. So if you told somebody, hey, it's going to be an extra $12,000 a year, right? So that change, it's not going to kill our market, but you have to understand that for some people now,
Culls the herd.
they're either not going to be able to buy, or they're going to have to buy at a much lower rate than they could have bought before, a much lower price point, and then will they find anything in that price point? So as a realtor, we have to be able to set expectations. I just showed somebody a house the other day that I'd been showing them houses for the last year, and I told them a year ago, please just up your budget. You have so much more left in your pre-approval. Please up your budget. You will regret it if you don't. So when I showed them a house the other day, I told them, hey, your payment, I know you're trying to stay under $1,400 last year for this price point. This house today, which is around that price point, is now going to cost you $1,900. And you should call your mortgage guy and just find out, do you really want to buy a house or does not? Because you may have just missed your boat.
Yeah, I had that.
But have fun paying $1,700 in rent.
Yeah, that's a conversation with someone recently. I was just like, hey, they were like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm like, have you spoken to your mortgage person? And I was like, you might want to just touch base with them and just see how everything's shaking loose, what your monthly payment is like that. Because, you don't want to like get your hopes up. And what I have found is that most people, they ended up, they throttled down their expectations, but it's still not fun.
Yeah.
You kind of had your hopes all up for something, and now you're kind of like, well,
yeah,
all right, I guess I'm gonna buy a house that I don't.
That's why I'm pumped about
because
mine.
I need. It's like
I would have lost all my deposit and then had to go buy something for probably $600,000
without a room for me.
Without a room for
Just
you.
kidding. There's always gonna be room.
Probably like a 3-car garage instead of a 5.
Peasants. What are we, peasants? Just kidding, guys.
I'm just kidding. First world problems.
I don't have a garage. I live in a hostel. I rent a room.
I was moving all the cars around this morning because 2 cars are now blocking the one bay, so I had to like move both cars out, and I pulled the GT4 RS out, and then I pulled the GT3 out, and I put the GT3 back in the other spot, and then I put both cars. And she was like, my wife was like, "Do you need any help?" And I was like, "Nah, it's fine." She just like, "You have so many Porsches. You spend 20 minutes just moving them around in the morning."
Oh, this is the worst. I'm gonna be late now.
Yeah. I was like, this is first world problems at its finest.
This is not very, but it's like Jared's got so many Porsches that like people look at me and they're like, Galen, do you have a Porsche? Like they just assume that I'm driving a Porsche. I'm like, no, I'm not driving a
There's
Porsche.
Porsches going around.
They're just like, well, you guys share. You got a Porsche too? And I'm just like, no, I don't. Like, I drive a Hyundai.
I've heard no less than 3 people ask Galen if he drives a Porsche.
I'm like, I don't drive a Porsche. He's like, well, what do you? I'm just like, guys, I got nothing, man.
I think we should get an emblem and just stack it on his
Acura. Oh, man.
And I love my car. It's like, it's not like it's a cheap vehicle. It's just like funny people are like, well, like, and then some that they're just like, oh, well, your your car's nice. I'm like, it's a $50,000
Someone
SUV.
did do that the other day too. Hey, yours is cool
Your
too.
yours is good. I'm like, it's like, can you afford this vehicle? They're like, no. I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. But anyway, sorry. It's just funny.
Last thing that's going to change, and this one's quick and easy, but days on market. It's pretty obvious. We're already seeing that the days on market on listings is taking a while nowadays. The flip side to that is we just have to be prepared to tell our sellers that, hey, this is normal. You're not necessarily going to sell in the first weekend, and also not have a full meltdown when it doesn't sell in that first weekend, right? Because at the end of the day, like we just got 2 contracts in on the one that we put under yesterday, and it had been on for like 15, 16 days, but we went through 2 weeks, 2 full weekends, 2 weekends of open houses, everything. And then I was like, I don't know. Should we price drop? I said, let's just wait. We got 1 more open house, 1 or 2 more showings, and then bam, multiple offers.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I forgot. Someone told me that it was like it was almost like going.
Hey,
from
Mike,
like,
are we good on the thing? Do you have to reset these things? You're cool. Okay.
I feel like someone told me the other day it was like 3 to 13 days, right? It's like we were at like, oh, it's going off in the first weekend, and now it's like, I mean, you're up 13 days in like some of the nice markets, and so that's a good conversation to have. I had someone call me yesterday at the office after you had left, and they were just like, hey, we're still interested in listing our house after the first of the year. Can you come out? So like, I wrote in my notes, I'm like, just to educate them on, what is, some of the changes that are coming up, and they're type of people, they have to move. So, well, they don't have to, but they want to move. They're moving out of state, and they saw me on Facebook, and so.
All righty, Galen, what's going to stay the same in this market? We're seeing all these shifts, we're seeing changes. But what's not changing? So,
in my opinion, one of the many saving graces, I feel like a lot of sellers are hearing this information. They're just like, oh, bad, never sell your house. I'm like, no, that's not exactly true, because one of the things that has not changed is inventory. Yeah. It's still low. We haven't flooded the market with houses everywhere. If anything, this almost makes the inventory even lower when you think about it, because people are like, ooh, they're pulling back even more. So now inventory is definitely going to be lower. And when an inventory this is basics, economics 101, supply is low. What does that do? So that'll affect, pricing, and that'll affect your demand.
Yeah, so the buyer's market doesn't start until you have about 6 months worth of inventory.
Yeah.
And in our market, we were down to 2 weeks worth of inventory for a while. It was extreme. So we are seeing inventory come back finally. I'd love actually a stat. Maybe we could. I wonder if we could find that.
We got this thing. Maybe we can send a stat.
Oh yeah, whoever's editing this.
Yeah.
Maybe that you can put up there what the inventory is when we did this podcast.
There you go.
Just throw that in there. Thank you. We don't know it offhand, but I'd bet you we're probably. I mean, even if we're at 2 months inventory right now, right? We're still 4 months of inventory off from becoming a buyer's market. And then Galen made a good point. The issue is if rates are 7.5 and you're living in a house locked in at 3 or 4% or 3.5, 2.7, you probably don't want to sell your house and go buy another house at a higher interest rate. So a lot of people are holding back on the sales. The builders are holding back, right? Because they don't want a 2008 situation. So whereas we were already not building enough houses, we were trying to catch up. There was 2 people being born for every house being built for a while, or 4 people, something insane. We did a whole podcast on that a while back with stats. But as the builders pull back and then the sellers pull back, you still don't get that flood of inventory. And then people say, well, foreclosures, which we are going to start seeing some foreclosures again. We're seeing some. But the flip side is that the average person has like $150,000 in equity in their house. So if they go into hard times, they'd be better off putting a sign in the yard and selling it versus going through a foreclosure situation.
Because when we say stop foreclosure, now you're not going to make a ton of money, but you're not going to be at the point where it's like you owe and now you've got to foreclose. Like you're going to get a little bit of something, at least stopping you, from going to bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So that's something that you definitely want to keep in mind as the market kind of.
Yeah, and everybody's got a different thought for what they think pricing is going to do. The general consensus is that it's probably coming down off of its high, but I mean, I've looked at a lot of hot markets. The ones that are sizzling will probably see some bigger drops. The ones that were oversaturated, that people were just cranking over, your really high price markets. But your normal markets, I mean, right now, the most I've seen on drop on is like 2%, 2.3. Okay. I mean, we had 45, 50% gains over the last 3 years. If you lose 2 or 3%, it's not a big deal. And my thought is if you lose 5 to 10%, it wouldn't stop me from buying anything. If it goes beyond that, 20 to 30, my benefit is that I'm just buying up everything I can buy up at that point. If I can get a 30% discount on real estate at some point,
I'm borrowing money like crazy.
Exactly.
I'm using someone else's money like crazy.
Because it will bounce back. Because ultimately what's going to happen is at some point, the Fed will keep raising, just to destroy everything. But then at some point, they destroy it. then they got to bring it back down, right? They're not just going to stay there forever. Will we get back to a 3% rate? Probably never.
I think we're kind of close to the ceiling of far where the Fed wants to go. I feel like they're just like, all right.
I think we'll hit the 8s, and then I think after the 8s, I think that essentially over the next year to maybe 2, but I'm calling a year and a half, we're going to level back into the 5s, 5.5s, and then I think it's just going to stay steady at 5, 5.5, and then I think everything will come back.
And then we'll be back.
I mean, we're still selling. Nate's about to put a $900,000 under today. We just put a $300,000 under yesterday. Put a $327 under yesterday. So I mean, we're still selling.
We put a 300 down on Monday.
Oh yeah. I mean, regardless, we're gonna just crush the market. But you have to be prepared. And you have to make sure you're doing what's right. All right. Another thing that I don't think is going to change, what's going to stay the same, at least for the foreseeable future, from everything I've seen, is that the price of goods still seems to be holding pretty strong.
Yeah.
There are still shortages on everything. The fact of the matter is that between somehow COVID still, I haven't figured that out. I guess other countries that maybe are still kind of locked and we kind of get stuff from, different, like maybe the third world stuff. A lot of stuff like flooring comes from Vietnam now and things like that. And I think maybe their factories still aren't up and cranking. They're moving a lot of stuff to America. I know that's probably, some stuff. Labor shortages, all of that stuff hits. The war in Ukraine, that's hitting a lot of stuff with supply. If it's material, if it's anything that's petroleum based, which you realize comes into siding, comes into vinyl and all of that stuff, which is just crazy. I mean, me and Galen flipped a house a few months ago. It cost us $30,000+ to side it and put some windows and a roof on. Used to cost me like half of that pre-COVID. So I think that some stuff will level off. Lumber, I think we'll see come down a little bit. It's already coming down some.
Yeah, lumber is it's trickling down a little bit already.
But overall, we're still seeing chip shortages. I mean, you look at the car market, and you can't get Bose stereos a lot of times. You've got issues with anything with chips. So anything that involves a camera, whether it's a sensor for headlights, whether it's whatever it may be.
Your onboard controllers, yeah.
All that stuff has been tough. And I think that's going to keep going. I don't foresee it stopping. Labor is getting more expensive. People want to get paid in America. They're trying to bring stuff back to America.
Trying to get paid.
Right? Everybody wants to get paid, and now everybody's like, I can't afford anything. And I'm like, that's because we gave everyone a raise.
Like, we gave everyone a raise. Now we can't afford anything.
We literally said everybody should make $30 an hour.
Enjoy your $18 cheeseburger.
Yeah. The guy at McDonald's is getting paid $20 an hour to make this burger. He's got to pass the cost on.
And the service is still not better.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, taxes go up, which means rent goes up. Insurance goes up, which means rent. So all these renters that think the landlords are the devil, it's like, look, man, we're passing on all of our expense. All of the maintenance for you trashing my house now costs triple for me to fix with my contractors. My taxes have gone up. My insurance has gone up. It has to be profitable. I'm not letting you live here for free. Everything's gone up. And so that's the other thing that's going to stay the same. It seems like rent's still going up.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to still affect the fact that people are going to need to buy houses because they're like, I can't afford a house. And you're like, can you afford to rent? And they're like, no. So what's the alternative, right? You may have to lower your expectations. Maybe you'll be buying some condos. Maybe condo sales are just going to crank at some point because people are going to be like, look, I'm tired of renting. I can't afford the house I want. I'm just going to buy a cheap condo.
Well, that's why it's all around here in Midlothian area.
Oh, they're building them like
crazy.
I mean, it is just like going up. I'm like all the way up, and I love it.
But through the boom in COVID, condo sales did not crank. It's not that they weren't selling. They were, obviously. But the thing is, their values weren't skyrocketing because for the most part, COVID made people want more space, not less space.
Now I think there'd be more. What I've been looking at as we've been chatting is like there's our MLS has a market watch price decreases. This was like a thing that a year ago. Never. That wasn't even the number was just so low,
like negative. They were like increasing.
So like
we changed our mind. We want
ironically
more.
There's like some increases, which I'm just like, what did you do? Like let's just say errors, right? So there's 42, but the decreases 323 price decreases. Now just think about that. That was, and we're just talking. This is just a 7-day market watch, but I'm like that number didn't even exist. Like no one was decreasing.
It's interesting though on our stats is you can still see that the amount of houses under contract is still higher. Mm-hmm. It's about even, but it's slightly higher than the amount of new listings, which means we're still selling out inventory faster than they're listing it.
So new listings 378, pendings that went under contract 387.
That's it. So you're still actually on a lack of inventory.
Yeah. So
all right,
you just got statted up by us.
That's right. How many minutes are we at, Mike?
Just about 30.
All right, so that we're into our last thing. We're going to wrap this thing up. Before the shift, people thought that they could kind of sell their house on their own. And they could typically get it under contract. I mean, statistically, we proved that we would always get more money. It would always be better if they listed it with us, right? But the flip side is they thought that they could do it on their own. They would have been better off with a realtor. Nowadays, that is never more true, right? It has not only stayed the same, but it has increased tenfold. Because now, to throw your house up on a for sale by owner website with no marketing and no good pictures, and you probably didn't price it right because most FSBOs don't.
I was about to say, I was like, you probably didn't price it right, so now everyone's like, I want $1 trillion. Everyone's like, I'm definitely not paying you this for this.
Good luck. Now is the time when we as realtors, right? That's what this podcast is for, is real estate training. If you're a realtor and you're listening to this, now is the time that you should never be losing a listing to somebody. Now is the time when if there was ever a time to call for sale by owners, it's probably now. Now is the time for expired listings, because what I've noticed is any listings I lose are to discount brokerages and people that are cranking the price up way higher than even the highest of comps, which means I know a lot of those things are going to not sell and they're going to go expired or withdrawn at some point. This is the time when if I was a realtor, I would be going out hard. We are doubling down into expired listings, for sale by owners, all of that stuff right this second, just for that reason, because we know that now's the time. So that's something that's going to change, not stay the same. You should be doubling down on everything. Whatever you're doing, you better crank it. If you were having 30 real estate conversations a week, you better be having 60 now, because you want to keep your sales the same.
And I know there's like people listening, they're like, what, 30 real estate conversations
That's
a week?
nothing.
I mean,
it's nothing.
We tell our guys you got to have 50. And this morning I sat with like some of the agents on my team, and I was like, well, how many did you have yesterday? And they're like, I had 7. And I'm like, all right, so you got 43 to go. I was like, these are actually conversations. And one of the good things is that there's a guy on our team named Garrett, and I felt bad for Garrett because the past couple of months he was just taking it on the chin. He's like having these conversations, nothing happened. And then like this week he's like got a pep in us. I'm like, what's happening? He's like, well, all the people that left voicemail, he's like, they're starting to call me back. I'm like, that is how it works. Yep. I was like, you've been calling, and like he's been watching other people just get like stuff under contract, and he's just been like, I've been calling people too, and they, they've got sphere and stuff like that. But now he's starting to kind of reap some of the benefits of all of his hard work, and so you will too if you kind of start doing that. And if you're curious on like what you need to do, how to set it up, feel free to reach out to Jared or myself. We're happy to, help you and just have a conversation with you. This is not one of those things where like, then you sign up for our training course for a night. And I was like, hey,
that's coming.
Yeah, that's 2024. No, but feel free to reach out. We're happy to help. We're happy to do whatever we can to help your business grow. We want you to be successful, and so that you can provide for your life and your family in a way that you see fit.
That's right. Reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you. We would love to talk to you about partnering with us. It doesn't matter where you're at in the country or the world. I'm
everywhere.
We have partner agents in, I think, 10 states now, something like that. We're going to be in all 50. So if you're sitting in another state, if you're sitting in Virginia, you want to know what it looks like to partner with us and how we can help you grow your business, reach out to us. We're very easy to contact. All of the information.
Someone from Ohio reach out to me. I want to go to Ohio. I want to fly out and like meet someone.
Do I have anybody in Ohio?
Cincinnati area.
We got somebody in Michigan that's getting their license right now. Yeah. So let us know how we can help you. Again, I'm Jared Davis.
And I'm Galen Parker.
This is another episode of...
You're throwing it to me?
I'm throwing it to you. I'm giving it to you.
We are the Mega Agent Real Estate Podcast.
There you go. Mega Real Estate Talk. Let's get out of here. Thank you, Galen. Keep listening to us. Subscribe, like, follow. Thanks for listening.
If you have a real estate question that you would like to ask Jared or Galen, reach out to them at jared@centralvarealty.com or Galen@centralvarealty.com. Who knows? It may even be featured on an upcoming episode.